Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Alter Curated. Today we're gonna be doing a monthly reflection and wrap up of March. So I'm just gonna be yapping about some things. This is the Alter Curated Digest. This is the reflection zone. And we're gonna be talking about all things love and things that have been on my mind lately, like spring and blossoming and nurturing and tending in and coming into your being and letting something shape you while letting other things shed away with time and introspection. So I've always had a relationship to my desires. Like, I'm ashamed of wanting this. I'm ashamed to be seeing yearning for this. And like my desires or my goals or the things I wanted to have were inherently shameful because I don't know. I have a relationship to desire that is very unstable. So I wrote in my journal, why does love feel like a temptation I have to resist? Like it's forbidden. It couldn't possibly exist for people like me. It's for normal people, not barely functional, insular folks on the edge of the world, standing between daydreams and real life. Why does love circle my thoughts so much lately? I've not longed for love in a long time. Quite the opposite. I resisted it, enjoyed its absence, loved my indulgent solitude so much, even if it may have meant that I foregoed the possibility of love in life. That ideology feels more and more suffocating by the day. Lately, I've extended periods of imagining dreamy possibilities of love in my head. What would it look like for me? Would it always ache like it always has? Would it be so bad, so abhorrent, so out of the ordinary? To imagine a world where I'm loved, any fraction of possibility or timeline I could slip into where I'm consumed by the sweetness and want to get hurt because it's human. I feel the wanting coagulate at the tip of my tongue with its sweetness. Am I disqualified from normal life? And this is what I wrote in my journal, and it has felt very personal and very sacred to me. I feel like I was hesitating sharing this, but actually, if you broach most of your feelings about love and any given topic, you want to share it with the world because you reach that level of intimacy with that topic or those feelings or those analysis in your life where you feel like, oh, I might actually want to share this with the world, and I don't feel so bad about it now that I put eyes on those parts of myself or those exiled suppressed parts of me. So I might actually want to share it with the world, like now that I understand it, I have that level of self intimacy. And I remember a time where I was enslaved by what I could describe as intense, blinding passion. Look directly at it, and it would be as powerful and as life nourishingly hot as the sun. One could get burnt. My gaze alone could tell you how enraptured and impassioned I was. Devotionally, painfully, inevitably, undeniably, powerful, radiant, imaginative, sensual, and brimming with the creative potency of love. Loveliness and all things ethereal. I managed to capture something from the realm of fever dreams. It was surreal. I've never felt more like myself. And this was a journal entry about a past version of myself. I think a version of myself in 2025. And my biggest dream has been to capture that feeling again and feel that feeling again, the sensory experience of pleasure, and fully embodied in all my mental, physical, and emotional bodies and the subtle bodies. This pleasure washing over me and kind of euphoric feeling. And I've always been trying to chase that feeling, but coming back to my relationship with desire, I've always felt shame in wanting things that were particularly normal to want, just because I felt like a weird loser, pathetic freak for wanting them. And I was like, I crave connection, and why am I demonizing myself for literally craving a basic aspect of the human cluster of emotions? I don't know, but that's what I was feeling like. And now I'm kind of stepping into this energy where I'm nurturing my needs and kind of learning how to tend to my needs again and being attentive, present, and engaged with them and kind of actively participating with the experience of meeting my needs and kind of not always tailoring myself to other people's frequencies, and kind of also speaking up about what I prefer, and kind of letting others accommodate for once to my needs and my preferences. And I've just been kind of in this state of like, let me tell you something, because we're so chronically online, and how the cultural diaspora I'm engaging in online circles and in real life circles, and how real life and online worlds interact and bridge the gap and create this kind of weird language of interaction. It's kind of weird because my friends in real life kind of identifies particularly sensitive lover boys, lover girls, and I've never identified as that because I had been through the online world conditioned to be sort of nonchalant. And I'm even ashamed to say this. I feel ashamed about particularly normal things, which is like I was conditioned to be nonchalant, the irony epidemic, being hyper detached, hyper aware, intellectualization focused. Yet I'm learning to unlearn that. And despite that feeling of having identified with avoidant traits a lot of the time and not being attuned to how deeply feeling and sensitive and emotional I really was, I'm now learning to unlearn that detachment and learning to be open again and kind of reattune to my senses, my emotional body, my subtle body, my mental body, my physical body, and kind of reimagine what it's like to integrate healthy detachment into my life. Because I've always been kind of like not attuned to my own needs, and now I'm learning to tap back into them again and access them again. And love in relationships has always been a pain point for me, but I've never actually realized that. Because when your needs go unmet for too long, they kind of turn in on themselves and kind of consume you from the inside out. And I never want love and softness to be a place that gets corrupted in my life in any given season of my life, because I've always, like, I'm a spiritual person, I'm a deep feeler, I'm a sensitive person, but I don't want that to go unmet for so long that it gets corrupted and kind of turns like unstable. Because as a spiritual person, softness and love and everything being spiritual and romantic in my world is kind of woven into every aspect of the fabric of my reality. And I refuse to forego that for an chronically online ideology of nonchalance and detachment, hyper individualism, intellectualization of the feelings, when I could just be emotionally experiencing those feelings and feeling those feelings and sitting with the discomfort of those emotions and feeling the whole spectrum of human emotion, even though it's like negative sometimes and positive other times. I just want to be human and humane and not like feel ashamed of what I'm feeling. And my first line of defense shouldn't be to intellectualize them, it should be to feel them. And that's what I've been learning how to do. And kind of I'm in this spring season of like longing for a clean slate, a fresh start, a season of blossoming and nurturing and kind of blooming into oneself and shaping yourself against the grain of the world and how it's cropping up to be. And kind of collectively I feel like this what came through me yesterday. I wrote a channel message in my Discord server, and the channeled message was that the givers of the collective, the givers in this world, the people who identify as lover boys, lover girls, sensitive, deep feelers, the dreamers, the idealists of this planet, they are exhausted with the level of consideration, attentiveness, and care they show to the receivers of this world. But that sensitivity is being asked to survive within systems that are not taught to nurture it, not taught to sustain it. And through media and the way culture continues to shape itself, the nonchalance, detachment, hyper-independence are only viable ways to exist in a system that does not allow softness to go untouched. And that is the only way. But there is another way, the one that honors tenderness without demanding its oppression. Yet those who feel deeply, give openly, who own their own needs, their desires, their boundaries in a culture that struggles with honest emotional expression are becoming increasingly rare. And so the one who can give themselves openly, they are placed into roles of constant tending and pouring into people who do not yet have the capacity to receive, not out of malice, but out of limitation. So there is a quieter, less articulated reality of the receivers too. Receivers, when operating from the shadow, can become takers not because they are inherently so, but because they have not yet cultivated the capacity to hold what is yet being offered. They take in but cannot circulate, they consume but cannot respond. And what happens is the receivers are far too dysregulated because they were givers for so long. As Frank Cushion said, the one who cared too much once have now become detached or some shit like that. But yeah, I paraphrased this totally wrong. And coming back to the point, true receivers are not empty in a hollow sense. They are semi-empty vessels, open enough to allow warmth and care to enter, spacious enough for it to take root. To receive deeply requires openness, self worth, and the ability to remain present. And many have not been taught how to stay. They have been taught to deflect, to minimize, to question, to withdraw. So they exist in partial absence, not because they do not exist, but because they are still learning how to be available, which creates an imbalance within the collective. The overgivers are constantly exhausted and the receivers are constantly withdrawing. It's a culture that does not yet know how to bridge the gap or hold the exchange between them. So, the ancient wisdom of giving, of creating, of tending, of pouring love within intention loses its sense of fulfillment. So, I see the collective snowballing towards a culture of like being profoundly dysregulated. It lingers unmet, unwitnessed, unreturned, unreciprocated when givers give to the receivers and receivers do not yet have the capacity to receive correctly. But the truth remains the capacity to give, to love, to create, to tend is not the flaw, it is the gift. But like all gifts, it was never meant to exist in isolation. It was always meant to move between hands, hearts, beings in a rhythm of mutual recognition. It is meant to circulate. And like everything in life, it is a dance, it is a spectrum of giving and receiving, and giving and receiving can exist within one person as well. So this is what came through me yesterday, and like I posted it on my Discord server. It was a channeled collective message, but these things rarely like circle my mind, but this somehow did. So I figured I'd express it, and I'm glad I did. I'm happy that I feel more comfortable sharing my creative outlets with the world, because for so long I've hidden it out of the fear of judgment, or like kept my creative outlets at arm's length or like out of reach to only cater to a specific kind of audience, because if I reach the other audience I'm going to be judged. But I am not in that energy anymore. I don't care if people judge me, because the collective has always judged other people, and our capacity to judge and our capacity to be judged is human and it happens. And I allow people to perceive me in whatever way possible, in whatever way they desire, because I'm hoping that people see me in the most loving eyes. And I hope I can see people in the most loving eyes. And that's what I'm not willing to forego, even though it's an ideology I've identified with for so long. Like just assume people are judging you, assume negative intent, but kind of allowing myself to see the good intent of people, allowing myself to see the good in other people also allows other people to see the good in me. And allowing self intimacy with myself and my own needs also allows other people to better tend to my needs because I'll feel comfortable expressing it and expressing that part of myself and sharing it with the world if I've achieved self intimacy to some reasonable extent. And also, others have also been given the opportunity to kind of tend to my needs, and I do the same for them. It's like likewise, vice versa, in a kind of mutual dance of giving and receiving. And it exists at different spectrums, at different points in time, at different switching modes of giving and receiving. But that's what's been on my mind lately. This was the March Digest for Alter Curated. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And I love you all so much. I feel so much gratitude for the Discord community, for the YouTube community, for the Substack community I've cultivated. There are very few of you, but as a creator, there are very few of you. But if 81 people were subbed to me and they showed up at my house, I'd be like, wow, this is an achievement. I like this. And I long for like my tribe in that capacity, my soul tribe, and people who support me. So love that for us, love that mutual recognition, soul resonance, soul exchange. And from a spiritually informed understanding of the world, this is how my podcast is like calling in people who are right for me, who understand the resonance, the mutual soul recognition. And I kind of hope that your spring, your quarterly season goes well, that pain does not touch you, it does not change you, and I hope for the best. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, hit a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out a lot as a small creator. And I love you all. Bye.